Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's Facebook Live. My name is Deborah Byrne from Deborah Byrne Psychology Services, known across social media as DBpsychology. So today we're going to talk about PTSD in children and teens and the importance of recognising that and reaching out and getting treatment. Treatment is very successful once it's started, but if we leave something like PTSD, it doesn't go away. It just doesn't go away. So we do need treatment for it now. I've already done a video and a blog about PTSD in adults. So if you haven't watched that, I'd advise you to go and have a check it out, because it does discuss PTSD specifically for adults, but it also gives you an idea of the different types of PTSD. And that's important. That's an important piece of information to have for yourself if you want to combine the two of these together. That's what I would advise you to do. I would combine the two of these together, the two blogs, the two videos, and get all the information you need, particularly if you suspect that a child or a teen or yourself may have experienced an event that is causing you to have PTSD. Now let's move on. Let's move on with this. So, most people associate PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder in people either that have been in a combat situation in a war. They've either gone out and they fought, or they have survived it. They've survived a war-torn situation. But post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD can happen to anyone at any time, and even sometimes for the minor, things that people would write off as being a very minor event or a minor situation to have happened. So we have to be aware of that. It can happen to anyone, as I said, including children and teens. So that is something we have to be aware of. And it is basically, triggered by either experiencing or witnessing. We have to remember that it's about not, you don't have to experience it, but if you've seen it happen, you can get PTSD, or the child or the teen can get PTSD. So it's about experiencing it or witnessing it, and that can trigger the PTSD. Now, another thing to be aware of, it can be a one-off event, or it can be a repeat events that can cause the PTSD. So it doesn't have to be constant repetition. It can be just a one-off simple event, and it can cause PTSD. Now, the other thing we have to be aware of, two people could experience or witness the same event. One person is traumatized, but they recover. They get treatment if they need it, and they recover quite quickly. Another person or another teen or child can be involved in the same event or witness the same event, but they can develop PTSD. So that is something we have to be aware of. Just because maybe you didn't get PTSD if you were involved in a car crash, for instance, it doesn't mean that somebody else that was in the car with you um, doesn't get, wouldn't get it, wouldn't get the PTSD. So we have to be aware of that. So it's not a one size fits all thing. The other thing we have to be aware of, PTSD can go on for years and years and years until it's treated. It has to be treated. It is something that when we get treatment, the treatment is very effective, but we have to get treatment for it. So some examples of, and I list out a lot more examples between the two blogs on what can cause PTSD. But some examples might be, yes, an unexpected death. So if there was a death even in the family and it wasn't expected, that can cause it. A violent attack, which is much more, you'd say, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I can relate to that. A violent attack, yeah, somebody getting PTSD, I could relate to that. A fire, so experiencing a fire or witnessing a fire. The loss of a home, a car accident, and it doesn't have to be a major car accident. It could be just a fender bender, it could be just a tip. A natural disaster or a man-made disaster. So you have to be, there are some examples of when this could happen. Now there's a lot more examples, as I said, between both blogs and both videos. Now, the signs and of PTSD in children and teens, um, you're going to see a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, depression, and some of these can include intrusive thoughts and memories, flashbacks, nightmares, um, recreating the event through either play or their drawing, because sometimes they don't know how to express that. They don't know how to express what they're feeling. You don't even expect that that will be happening around a child, a smaller child. It could be an older child or a teen, may not know how to express what's going on or how they're feeling inside. Um, and I think we forget that with teens. We tend to think because they're that bit older that we put too much onto them in terms of expecting them to be grown up, and they're not, and they don't have the life experience, or their brains are still developing. Remember that too, just as much as their bodies are developing. Well, the brain takes a hell of a lot longer to develop. It could be it's around 26, 27 before the brain is fully developed. So we have to remember that, and remember they may not be able to express themselves with regards to what's going on for them. So they may draw it out, or they may act up. So then they can avoid things. So they can avoid talking about the person. They could be avoiding other people that were involved in the incident. They could be start withdrawing and avoiding activities that they want to do, that they would normally do. So withdrawal, avoiding the place where it happened, or a place that reminds them. So if you think about it, maybe it was somebody's house that an incident happened in, say a friend's house that went on fire, and they witnessed that and they were traumatized by it. Well, they might be uncomfortable about going to other friends' houses. Think about that. They can also develop a disassociation, if you like, but they're not able to remember what happened, or main I can't say main events, it's not the word I'm looking for. Um, Important information about what happened. So there could be blanks in their information. They could have, basically the brain is protecting itself, so it blanks it out. And it's just that the information is there, but the brain is protecting them from further trauma by causing these small type little blackout in their brain that goes, no, we're blanking it. We don't want to remember it, so therefore there's a hole in the memory, if you like, if what happened. So negative thinking, of course, you'd expect that. Low mood, as I said, depression is common. Um, then you would also have worry, negative beliefs. They might start talking very negatively about themselves. You might hear them worrying about different things, and you think it might be a bit strange. Why are they worrying about that? It's not that big a deal. They've handled that situation in the past. It's okay. Fear, anger, shame, guilt, all of those will come up. The feelings are long lasting, and the anxiety is going to increase and increase and increase. Their stress levels are going to increase. Their low mood will, as I said, decrease down and into depression. Sleep issues, problems in school would be a very common one. Attention problems in particular, not being able to pay attention, and being startled easily. So a sudden noise, they're going to be jumping. They're going to be very jumpy, very anxious, very clingy. They might not want to leave you. So very, very clingy. You could have them reverting backwards in a developmental stage. Now, this is a temporary setback. So don't think this is permanent. Once the symptoms are treated, diagnosis is made, and once treatment is started, these will, it'll rectify itself. So you could have nightmares, as you'd have flashbacks, which would be during the day. You'd have nightmares at night. You'd have sleepwalking, bedwetting, not wanting to leave you, as I said, getting more clingy. They'd also maybe start carrying around a teddy bear or something like that, or a backpack with stuff in it. Um, even in the house, they'll be bringing this with them everywhere in the house. They'll be bringing it everywhere with them. That this is It's not necessarily they're going to have all of these symptoms. So you're really looking at their anxiety, their stress, and a depression is what you're looking at there mainly. But you want to see what else is feeding into this. Um, and again, with the bedwetting, the nightmares, the sleepwalking, don't just think that's going to be younger children. It could be an older child or a teen even. So, if this is happening, something's going on there. It needs to be investigated. That's a big, massive clue for you there. You need to investigate these. What's going on? It may not be PTSD, it may be something else. You need to investigate. You need to be a little bit of a detective, as I always say to parents. Check it out. What's going on? And other people may bring something to your attention, particularly with attention problems in school, maybe not doing the work, maybe not wanting to participate in activities in school, or not wanting to hang out with their friends. Um, you know, Other people may come to you and say, listen, I've noticed such and such. Don't dismiss anything. Don't write it off. As I said, please, please, please investigate it. Always investigate what's going on with your child. Never just dismiss somebody's comments, particularly if more and more and more people are starting to come to you, then that's a big red flag. But even if one person comes to you, always investigate it. Now, the signs themselves will usually show up about a month after the event. So it may not come immediately, but it should show up within about a month. A month. And as I said, treatment is very successful. You will need a professional diagnosis for this. So you're talking about going to a psychiatrist, probably being referred to a psychiatrist and getting a clinical diagnosis of PTSD, or you'll need a psychologist, you need a clinical psychologist. Or a counselling psychologist that works with children. So remember, these have to be work with children, with teens. So that is who you need. You can't just go to an ordinary counsellor, or certainly not a life coach. But your first protocol, as I would say, is if you have any concerns at all, go and talk to the GP. Let them investigate. Is there anything medically wrong there? They will want that eliminated. And then they can refer you on to the services that you need to get the diagnosis and treatment. Treatment is very successful, and moves along quite quickly. So, don't wait. Never, ever, ever wait with a child or a teen if you feel there is something wrong. Get it investigated immediately. So, um, something I didn't put in the blog that you might want to think about is how you can support your child. So you get a diagnosis, and how do you support your child? Well, of course, the first thing, as I always say, is reach out and get help, get that diagnosis. No matter what it is, reach out and get the diagnosis. They are going to need counselling for this. They'll probably use CBT or therapy, and they may also suggest family therapy. So please be open to that, be willing to cooperate and do that. This is for the sake of your child as well as yourself. You also will need support too. If you're trying to support a child or a teen with any sort of difficulty, it is highly recommended that you yourself get counselling. You will need that. It is good to go and talk about what's going on at home, how, the skills and strategies that they can put in place and help you put in place in order to support your child. And that is what a therapist can do for you. So be open to both of those. Be supportive. In general, be supportive at home as always. Stop, give them time, listen. They need that more than ever at this point. They need you just to listen to them. Less of you talking and more using the ears, and listening, listening, listening. Reassurance is what they need. Constant reassurance. They're going to constantly need reassurance, probably more than you're going to be. You're going to think, oh God, this is ridiculous. It's going on and on and on. Just keep at it. Okay, guys, just keep at it. It does get hard. I know it gets hard at times, but you just have to keep going and keep going and keep going. It can become exhausting as well at times. And that's why I say to you, you need help as much as the child does. You need that support, because then you can go and you can vent it out with the therapist, your own therapist. You can vent it out and they can give you coping strategies to deal with it. For yourself. It's only natural you're going to go, I can't cope any longer with this. The bedwetting, the constant nightmares, you're getting your sleep is interrupted and everything else. That's natural. You're going to get angry. It's natural. You're going to get frustrated. It's natural. It's perfectly natural to feel that way. So that's why you need the support. That's why you need the family therapy. That's what it's there for. Do please reach out and get it. So always, they want to hear, I love you, I'm here for you. No matter what, I am still here for you. That is all they're asking. That is all the child is asking. They need the reassurance that you're going to be there for them. Keep the teachers, if they've only one teacher, and the school principal informed. Or if they're in secondary school or high school, then it's going to be a case of, their year head, talk to the year head. There's usually a parent liaison officer and a school counsellor in the school. So if you can have a meeting with them, they don't need the nitty gritty. They don't need all the details. They just need to know that there is something going on, that the child is getting supported outside the school in terms of therapy, and that it was an accident or something happened. They only need the bare bones of the detail, and that the child is getting support from a professional. But keep them in the loop, because if the child has attention problems, if the child is, maybe acting up in school, then they can be understanding, okay, this is related to this. I need to pick up the phone and call you, the parent. So then you can tell and let the therapist know as well. So it's kind of keeping everybody in the loop, and then keeping the therapist that's working with the child informed, keeping the parents informed, and the school are helping you do that and monitor the situation, or when the child is not in and under your care. So if you feel at any point your child is struggling, really struggling, and instead of things aren't progressing, and you think that things are instead, they're going downhill. So if you hear any sort of talk about suicide, if you suspect something is getting more serious, please trust your gut instinct as a parent is very much spot on always. So trust your gut instinct and reach out and get extra help immediately. Never wait, particularly with anything around suicide or talk around suicide. You need to talk. Pick up the phone, contact the service that you're using with the psychiatrist or the psychologist. Talk to them. Or if something more serious has happened, the emergency services are there, and they are absolutely brilliant with dealing with children and teens. So please do reach out and seek help immediately. Never wait. So I'm going to leave it there this week. As always, my book and my workbook does talk about PTSD. It has a workbook. It is aimed at mums. And you can work through the steps in that. You can look at the information in that, and it also gives you information to help support yourself. So I'll pop a link in the description below where you can buy it. But I also have a group for mums that supports mums that are struggling with stress and anxiety, or just life in general. If you are really struggling to find time for yourself and you need extra support, I run a free Facebook group for mums, and in that we do a lot of videos. We talk about a lot of things. At the moment, we're just finishing up a sleep challenge, but that hasn't gone away. I always leave it in units in the group, so people can go in and dip into the different units that I've already covered in their own time, with the worksheets in their own, in your own time and in your own space. So again, if you're a mum and you'd like to join that group, I'll leave a description in the link below. So thank you all for listening, and I will be back on next week. And thank you as always to Deirdre and those that watch live every week, and to everybody who watches in replay. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you all again next Saturday morning.